So I decided to start sharing some story times with you guys. But before I start really telling like stories about being in LA, I wanted to make sure that I tell you guys how I got here. It only makes sense to tell you guys how I got here because I had a journey. It wasn't just I flew out here. It was a whole lot more that happened. When I graduated high school, I moved to Tallahassee for about 2 years before deciding to move to LA. So when I decided I was going to move to LA, I was in my own apartment at the time. So I just sold all my furniture and I rented a car and went back home to Stewart to spend time with my family and also work two jobs to save up some money before I left. I was planning on leaving in a month, and well, I did leave in a month. I was working at Walmart and McDonald's at the time. I only worked at McDonald's for a week, but that's another story um, for another time. So I was working my two jobs, and I decided to fly to Killeen, Texas to visit my favorite cousin at the time because she was in the military. She was the first sergeant at the time, first or second sergeant, and she was going to Korea. So, being that she's my favorite cousin, I wanted to go see her because, being in the military, you really don't know what tomorrow is like, so you have to live every day like it's your last. And I wanted to make sure I saw her, because you never know what's going to happen. And I flew out there, I got to her house and she was like, "You moving to LA?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Why you moving to LA? Like, you don't have no family there. You should just stay here and watch my house for a year, while I'm going to Korea, North Korea." And I was like, uh, because I had already had my plans to move to LA. I already, planned to do a lot out there or out here. And at that time, I was like, I don't know. And then I thought about it. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't hurt to save. I could save money. She was like, you ain't gonna have to pay no rent. You can just pay utilities and whatnot. So I was like, you know what? That's not a bad deal. She has a big, nice house. Like, this house is nice. And all I would be paying is utilities, and I can save up my money. And I can move next year. So at that point, I was like, okay, well, let me get myself settled in. Let me go in. I started buying stuff for my room, things that I was gonna need, you know, um, buying washing powder, detergent, food, like, stocking up on things to get myself prepared to stay here. And then looking for a job, all of that. I ended up getting a job at Subway, and damn, somebody keep messaging me. I'm doing something right now. But I started my job at Subway, and I had to buy my uniform and all of that. Like, so money was being dished out. Like, the money that I had saved up was it was running out real quick. But I was like, okay, cool. It's gonna be all right because I just got a job, so I'm gonna be able to save some money up. So that wasn't a big deal. So me and my cousin, we were bonding. We would watch. She would come home from work. We would watch movies together, before she goes to bed. And I would make dinner, and we would sit and eat and talk. I was having a good time, like, because that was really my favorite cousin because, like, I felt like, she did something with herself, and I admired that. Like, she just, she travels the world, you know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what I wanted to do. I'm a free spirit. So that's the part of her that I really love, so time goes on, and one of my friends back from Tallahassee reaches out to me because they know that I was moving to LA. This was my friend Clee. Hi, Clee. But my friend Clee reached out to me, and he was like, yo, he was like, he was the president of this poetry group that I was in. But he was like, yo, I'm moving to LA, this summer. I think it was like in a month from when he told me. He's like, I'm moving to LA in a month, and I heard you moving to LA, and I was like, oh, like, I'm not moving there, you know, right now. I'm gonna wait a year. I'm gonna watch my cousin's house. And he was like, oh, word. He was like, all right, well, He's like, you really can't, that's a good deal. That's a good thing you got going. So, I respect that, whatever. So, fast forward, I'm working at Subway, um, bonding with my cousin. I'm getting my life together, settling down, being here. I had been there for a month at that point. And I was driving her car. She was letting me drive her car. She had two cars at that time. She had one car. I forgot what year it was, but whatever year it was, that was the year of her car. Like, it was a brand new car. And she was driving that one, and I was driving her older car. So everything was working out because I was able to get to work, because Texas, Killeen, Texas is like desert. Like, I, I wouldn't be able to get to work without it. So I remember going to this party. My cousin and I go to this party, and her friends are there, and they're like talking and laughing and drinking and whatnot. And I'm underage at that point, so I can't drink. So I'm like, I took a walk. I took a walk down the street, and then I walked back up, and I didn't see anyone. So I'm like, where are they? And as I'm walking by this wall, I hear them on the other side of the wall. And my cousin's talking to her friend, and she's like, oh yeah, I overhear them talking. And she's like, oh yeah, my cousin's gonna watch my house while I'm gone. And her friend was like, oh, she's gonna watch your house. She was like, well, I usually use these website that rents my house out while I'm gone, And my cousin was like, oh, for real? It's just like, what is the website? Let me check this out. So I'm like, okay, well, it looks like she might be changing her mind about, me staying here and whatnot. But at that point, I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is. She can change her mind if she wants. It's her house, you know. Um, like I said earlier, it's a win-win situation for me because if I don't stay here, I'm going to be going to LA. So, you know what I mean? So I'm like, well, she'll talk to me about it later, whatever, and I enjoy the rest of the night. The next day, y'all, everything changed. Like, everything changed. Um, she comes home now. We no longer watch TV. She goes straight to her room and closes the door. Now when I cook, she's not hungry. Every night she came home, she's not hungry. She goes straight to her room, closes the door. So at this point, I'm like, is she going through something personally? Because she still hasn't talked to me about anything. So I'm like, maybe she's going through something personal, you know? So I remember one night I made baked ziti, and she came home and she was like, I'm not hungry. And I was like, okay, because at this point I'm used to it. Put the food in the fridge, and I go upstairs, and then I come back down like 15 minutes later to get something to drink. And something tells me to look in the pan. Like, I look in the pan, y'all, and half of the pan is gone. So I'm like, okay, it's not that she isn't hungry. She just doesn't want to eat with me. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, I'm like, okay, what is really going on? Like, are you intentionally being mean and rude? Like, are you trying to push me out of here? Like, what is it? Like, talk to me. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't say anything. I'm just like, at this point, I'm just taking notes. Like, okay. I think the last straw was when she um, came home one day and she was like, well, I'm going to have to do some training in Virginia in a week, which she had already told me before. But she goes, this time she's like, and I'm going to be taking the car that you're driving. And I'm like, so how the hell am I going to get to work? You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, she has another car, but like I said earlier, like the car was brand new. So of course, I know she's not going to let me drive that car. So I'm not even going to ask about that car. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, I'm like, okay, she took away my transportation at this point. So now I'm not able to get to work. You know, this is not going to work out. Like, so I go back upstairs, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go down there and I'm going to tell her I'm going to move to LA. And I'm going to see what she says. Because the first time I asked her, the first time I told her I was moving to LA, she was like, no, don't move to LA. You have no family there or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to see what she says this time. So I go back downstairs and I'm like, I think I'm going to move. And I didn't say it with no attitude or nothing. I was just like, I think I'm going to move to LA cuz. And she was like, okay. And I'm like, wow. Like, so this is about the house. You know what I'm saying? It has to be about the house. Like, as far as anything else, like I always clean up behind myself. Like I always bought stuff. I never just went in there and ate everything. And I'm not that type of person. I always cleaned up. Always, even with the car that I drove, there were some times that she drove the car. I always make sure when I got in that car, I put a full tank. Every time she got in that car, there was a full tank in there. Like, so I'm like, what is the problem? Like, what the fuck did I do? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I didn't do anything. It's just that, instead of her being a grown woman, and telling me, yo, because I decided to change my mind, blah, 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 she's just deciding to go about it the wrong way and like force me out and make me uncomfortable. So I'm like, yeah, so I'm moving to LA. She goes, okay. So I'm like, wow. I go back upstairs. I sit on my bed and I'm like, okay, game plan. What's plan B? Because I'm just the type of person where I'm used to people showing their true colors, not family, but I'm used to people showing their true colors. And I know I'm out here in this world alone, and I know I got to do what I got to do for myself, because if I don't do it, it's not going to happen. So I'm sitting there like, okay, plan B. Okay, so I'm going to work for another week, you know, since she's leaving in another week, and I'm going to save some money and whatever I got, because at that point, like I said, y'all, I had been buying stuff. I had to buy uniforms. I've been putting gas in the car, looking for jobs until I got that job. Buying stuff for the house. I was down to $40. So I didn't have money. You know what I'm saying? I was scrambling at that point. So I'm like thinking, okay, yeah, I'm gonna work for a week, whatnot, blah, blah. Tell me why. She comes upstairs and she's like, I just called, she's like, I just called the U-Haul service, so a U-Haul's on the way. I'm going to take your bed. I'm going to take the bed and I'm going to put it in the U-Haul, and I'm going to take you to your aunt's house. My aunt lives like across town, and she has a 2-bedroom, and one of the bedrooms were in front. It wasn't furnished yet. So I'm like, you what? Like, now? You're gonna take down my bed now? Like, I'm moving there now? Like, I'm packing my stuff to go there now? And she's like, she goes downstairs, gets some tools, and this woman comes back up and starts taking the bed apart. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I had just told her that I was thinking about, I was gonna move to LA like literally 5 minutes ago. I promise. Like 5 minutes ago, I had literally just told her that I'm moving to LA, and this lady is taking the bed apart in the room. So I'm like, at this point, I'm like, well, let me pack my stuff, because I didn't have time to think about it. It happened so fast, and I was so caught off guard. I'm like in the room packing my stuff, taking stuff out the closet, army rolling my shit, and putting it in my suitcase. And I'm like, well, let me go in the bathroom and clean the bathroom, because after I pack my stuff, I'm like, let me go in the bathroom and clean the bathroom up. Make sure I clean everything. Make sure I vacuum the floor. I'm getting the vacuum and stuff, making sure I clean up before I leave. She's like, it's okay. You ain't got to do that. You ain't got to do that. We got to go. We got to go. Something. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, from the time that I went downstairs and told her that I'm going to move to LA, so going upstairs, to that was only, all that stuff happened in like 30, 45 minutes. Like, everything was in the U-Haul within 45 minutes. And within an hour and a half, I was at my aunt's house, and she was putting the bed together in the guest room. My cousin was putting the bed together. She puts the bed together. She comes out the room. She's like, all right, cuz. And she gives me this little hug, and she leaves. And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck just happened? Like, what just happened? Like, what the fuck am I about to do? Like, I thought I had at least a week. You know what I'm saying? Like, who says I think I'm going to move to LA? Who says I think I'm going to move to LA and then move the next hour? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? So at this point, I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't even know what I'm about to do, but I end up texting my poetry president that I told you guys about earlier, to tell him what the hell happened, because I had already saw on Facebook that he had left. He had left 2 days prior to go and to start his road trip. So I was like, damn, this dude had already left. I'm like, I'm just gonna talk to him, because we have been, communicating that summer anyway. So I was like, let me tell him what the hell just happened. So I was like, hey, you know, where you at? Like, what you doing? And he was like, oh, I'm passing through New Orleans right now, me and such and such. And I'm like, you where? You passing through where? And he was like, I'm passing through New Orleans right now. And I was like, oh my God, can you pick me up? And he's like, yeah, where you at? Like, send me your address. I sent him my address, and he's like, well, I had to pass through Texas anyway. I was gonna take a break there anyways, so I can pick you up. And I'm like, oh my God. I go to my aunt, and I'm like, can my cousin? I was like, can my friend stay tonight? He's gonna pick me up. We're gonna be going to LA. And she's like, yeah. Man, my auntie is the shit, man. Like, that next day, she takes me to the store. I didn't ask her for anything. She takes me to the store. She buys me toilet paper, toiletries, snacks, all this stuff. Like, she's really, like, things that I would need in LA. She buys all this stuff for me. And then she gives me $40. And at that point, I had $80. But she buys me this stuff, and I really, really, like, appreciated that about her. Like, oh my God, that I really have nothing but respect for her. But anyways, so I'm in the room, like, getting my stuff together, waiting for my friend to get there. And my aunt's like, oh, can you check my phone because it beeped? And I go to her phone, and I look at the messages. Guess who it is? My damn cousin. And she's texting. The text says, oh, you need to tell Darielle that she needs to go back home. She needs to go back to Stewart. She don't have no money, and she don't even know these guys. She just needs to go back to Stewart. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the fucking nerve. Like, you have the nerve. I spent all my time, like, I spent almost 2 months here. I was only supposed to be here for 2 weeks. I spent 2 months here because you wanted me to watch your house. I spent all my money here. I did everything I was supposed to do. And you did me dirty. You know what I'm saying? And you got the nerves to be telling my aunt to tell me to go back home. Like, and then on top of that, she didn't even, like, when she dropped me off to my aunt's house, it wasn't no, hey, cuz here's a couple dollars. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you invested so much in being here. Here's a couple, you know what I'm saying? Like, none of that. You know what I'm saying? And I lost all respect for that woman. You know what I'm saying? All respect for that woman. And my aunt's like, who is that? Who is that? Who texted? I was like, it's spam. And I deleted the message because at that point, I'm not even feeding into that. God has given me one of my signs that I'm supposed to be in LA, and my sign is right on the way. Like, a couple hours later, my friend pulled up, and we were just hanging out before we left. And I was on the computer, like, filling out job applications after job applications, man. Like, I don't know how many applications I filled out, but I was like, I got to get I have to get something. You know what I'm saying? So we get to LA. We go to I had someone I was supposed to be staying with in LA. We get there, and my friend's helping me put my bags in the apartment. Yo, we open the door, and let's just say I've never seen a place so disgusting. The sink was black. The tub was black. The ground was black. And it was supposed to be white. It was really nasty. Like, there was stuff on the walls. It was disgusting. It was so disgusting that my friend was like, you sure you don't want to just stay with me and Carson for a minute until you get on your feet? And I was just like, yeah, that would be dope as fuck, but I'm supposed to be in LA. I didn't move out here to be staying in Carson. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, maybe this is a part of the journey. I got to do what I got to do. Maybe this is what I got to do to get where I need to be. And I stayed there. The next day, y'all, I'm like laying there like, okay, so what's my next move? No, actually, I was not laying there. I was walking down the street, viewing the mountains or whatever. And I get this phone call, and it's from Target. And HR is like, hey, I was wondering if you could come in for an interview tomorrow. And I was like, yes, I can come. And I come in the next day, and I get hired on the spot. Yo, I could freaking fall to my knees. I was like, I was like, thank you so much. You know, I was professional. I was like, thank you. I really appreciate it. I got out that door like, oh, like God is good. Like, oh my God. Like that was the cherry on top. Like I'm like, I know I'm supposed to be here. Like all this shit I done went through, I had been through all, like, this has been within 4 days. All this stuff I had been through was within 4 days. And within that 4 days, I got somebody to take me to LA, and then I had a job on top of that. So I was like, nobody can tell me shit. Like, that's why I don't listen to people. I don't let people bring me down. I don't let people tell me what I can't do, because God has shown me what he can do. You know what I'm saying? But everything hasn't been peachy cream, and I'm gonna tell you guys some stories about when I got here, because a lot of other shit happened like soon as I got here, you know. But for the most part, I got a job, and that's most important. So thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for my next video. Peace out.